Dear sewing friends, it's Alisa here, and today we are drafting and sewing this beautiful and easy linen top. And for that, you will need three simple things. You will need 1 yard of fabric, and it's very budget friendly. You don't need much. You will need 2 measurements, which makes it for a very simple, quick, and easy project to draft for any skill level. If I can do it, you can do it. And then you will need just about 1 hour. First time, probably a little bit longer, but once you already have the pattern done, 1 hour is really all you need. It's a very simple thing to make. So let me show you how to go about drafting this and making it so you can make something beautiful for yourself for the summer as well. So let's get started. So the 2 measurements that we're going to need to construct this beautiful and easy linen top are going to be the width of the shoulders, but not the actual width of our shoulders, but the final measurement of the top. So we're going to take it from where the sleeve starts and where the sleeve ends. And that's one of the reasons why we only need 2 measurements for this top. And the other one is going to be the length of the actual garment. And we're going to start with that first. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your measuring tape, and I'm wearing white t-shirt for you guys, so hopefully you can see a little bit better. And you're going to place this edge on your center back and right on the edge of your neckline. So it should be like this, very nice and centered. And then you're going to drop your measuring tape all the way to your tailbone. So once you have your finger on your tailbone, you take it away, and that's the measurement that we're going to put on your tracing paper. Now mine is 21.5 inches like always, but just to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to round it up to 21 inches. Now before we move forward, let's divide the actual length of the pattern in 3 equal parts. So mine was 21 inches, so 3 equal parts will be 7 inches each, and that will very approximately mark where the bust line is at and where the waistline is at as well, and that will help us in constructing a better garment altogether. So the second measurement is going to be, of course, the width of the shoulders of your top. Now here's a trick. You want to make sure that whatever width you take of your shoulders is actually at least a couple of inches bigger than the half measurement of your bust and the half measurement of your hips. So let's do that together. So I know that I want the width of my shoulders of the top to be 20 inches. So you're going to measure it kind of like this, 20 inches. Now I want to make sure that 20 inches is definitely bigger, a couple inches, than a half measurement of the bust and the hips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my measuring tape and I'm going to measure my bust. So the half measurement of my bust is going to be 18, so that's 2 inches bigger for sure. And the half measurement of my hips is 18 as well, so that's 2 inches bigger as well. So that works fine for us. So 20 inches will be for me, and since we're gonna build just the half of our pattern, 20 inches divided by 2 is just 10 inches because we're gonna do just one side and we're gonna cut it on the fold. Now here's the tip. The width of the shoulders of your top can be significantly bigger than the half measurement of your bust or your hips. Just remember that the wider the shoulders, the wider the actual top is going to be. So the boxier going to be the silhouette that you're going to be making pattern for. So just, keep that in mind. So now with these 2 measurements done, let's take care of our neckline and the shoulder line. So for the neckline, I take 3.5 inches to the right. For the depth of the neckline, take 2.5 inches. And I personally like my necklines to be pretty narrow. And here's another tip. You can always make your neckline bigger if you start with a smaller neckline, but not the other way around. So if I were you, I would start conservative. And then once you have your top done, you can always adjust the neckline. And that's probably one of the easiest things to adjust on any garment. So 3.5 inches to the right, then take 1 inch up from that point, and at the very edge of our shoulders, drop it by 1 inch. Now draw the shoulder line, because of course our shoulders are not straight, they're a little bit on the angle. Now let's move on to the sleeve. You can drop the sleeve all the way to the bust line just by a straight line, but I know that I want my sleeves to be a little bit wider, so I'm gonna drop it by 1 inch. And instead of drawing just a very straight line, let's just make it a little bit nicer and make it a tiny bit more curved. That's gonna contribute to a more organic looking pattern and garment altogether. So here's the front neckline and the back neckline. Draw a really nice curved line. If a curved line is a struggle for you, you can always use a bowl or a plate or a coaster or anything else that has a round edge to help you out with that. Now, since we know that our shoulder measurement is definitely a couple of inches bigger than our bust and our hips, that gives us a little bit of room to play with. So what I'm going to do to really define the sleeve a little bit, since we don't actually have a sleeve in this pattern, I'm gonna bring it in by 1/2 inch, and then I'm gonna draw a slightly curved line to the bottom of the top. So that way, when you actually wear the pattern, it's not gonna be just all straight line, but you're gonna have a slightly defined curve of the sleeve, and then of course the curve that goes into your bust, into your waist, and all the way down. That's it, our pattern is ready to go. Now here, if you want to add your seam allowances right away, you can. I prefer to have my patterns as is and add seam allowances as I go, because it really depends on the kind of fabric that you're using, but you can do it the way you want to. The easiest way to add seam allowances would be to take 2 Sharpies or 2 markers, take a scrunchie or any sort of little rubber thing, and wrap it around, and then you just make a really nice straight line. That's gonna help you with a really even seam allowance all throughout. Another beautiful thing about very simple tops like that is that the front part and the back part are completely identical except for 2 things. The neckline, of course, the back is going to be a little bit shorter and the front is going to be a little bit deeper, and the hemline. And a lot of times hemline is exactly the same, or you can make it high-low hem or a little bit different. But yes, you can actually draft this top all in one piece. Here's another tip. When I cut tops like that, I usually start with the back piece. In this particular situation, I'm going to start with a front piece because I want to make a curved hem, more like a shirt-like hem, and the front piece is going to be shorter than the back piece. So it's going to be a little bit easier for me to cut the front first and then, of course, cut the back. So when I'm cutting, I'm adding my seam allowances. Now, once I'm done with cutting my front part, I'm going to use that as my guide for cutting the back part. You know why? Because, well, that piece, as I mentioned, they're completely identical front and back except for the neckline and hem, and I've already added the seam allowances. So to make sure that my pieces are completely identical, you can use this trick by using already traced out piece as a pattern piece to trace off your back or the front, whichever you're tracing first or second. From here, the construction is really straightforward. What we're going to do is we're going to serge the shoulder seams, then we're going to stitch them together and press them open. And here, I kind of skipped a step because I really thought I'm going to be adding some cuffs to the sleeves, and in the process, I just happened to change my mind. So if I were you, I would do the rolled hem of the sleeve right now while I have the sleeve open, and then do the side seams. But in my case, I did the side seams first. Again, serge them first, and then you stitch them and press them open, and then I did the sleeves, which made it a little bit more difficult for myself. But I really wanted to bring out this point for you to let you know that, you know what, you can change your mind in a process. If you don't like something, it's totally easy. It's your creation, and you can totally do it. If I can do it, you can do it for sure. After that comes the hem, and you can finish hem in so many different ways. It's really up to you. And of course, then the neckline. The neckline, again, you can opt just for a very simple, straightforward neckline. In my case, I kind of wanted, as I said, a little bit of an element of a shirt, so I opted for this very simple slit. But again, you don't have to do that. You can opt for a very simple bias tape neckline or facing neckline, whichever you like best. In this case, I did the slit and I did exposed bias tape, which I barely ever do, but you know what? This one came out really nice, so I might do that a little bit more often. And that's it. Your top is ready to go. Dear subscribers, I do have one question for you though, so if you could answer that, that would be fantastic. Now, I know a lot of people have a lot of anxiety around drafting their own patterns. Let me ask you this. What if that is something that you're experiencing? What holds you back? What is one thing that you're like, you know what, I just can't do it? That will help me to target those little points in a future video, so that way it's a little bit easier for you to get on this pattern drafting journey for yourself and be more confident with your sewing. That would help me out a lot, so thank you so much. I would really appreciate your answers in the comment section below. And here I really want your imagination to fly and to take off, because with this very simple linen top pattern, you can do so many different things. You can turn it into a dress, into a tunic, you can do a button plaque down the middle, you can do a V-neck, you can make a tie belt in the middle, you can make it into a very light vest or jacket. So many possibilities for you guys just by adjusting this pattern by a little bit. So I really hope this was useful. I have some other very simple drafting DIY videos that you see on your screen right now, so definitely check them out. And until next time, make something beautiful for yourself and be thoughtful about your sewing. Thank you so much. Bye.